We are here today with our partners Veeqo. We are presenting on New Year, New Profits, Smarter Inventory Management. I am Jessica Wright. I am with AO2. For those of you who don't know us, we are an omni-channel e-commerce management agency. We manage your brand identity throughout your e-commerce journey. So from your own website to Amazon and everything in between. If you have needs for that, we can manage the whole experience, and we can also manage things a la carte. So that is what we do, and we would love to help you with your journey. So feel free to drop a question in the Q&A, drop something in the chat, connect with me after the event if you are interested in working with AO2 management. And then from Veeqo today, we have Daniel. I'll let Daniel introduce himself as well as Veeqo before we jump into the presentation.
Yeah, thanks, Jess. Nice to meet everybody. My name is Daniel Shakur. I'm part of the Veeqo team. I've been with Veeqo for over 4 years now, actually. I'm based in Toronto, Canada, and I help manage Veeqo's largest, most complex enterprise level customers. So I'm really blessed to be able to chat with a lot of different e-commerce brands on a day-to-day, learn the ins and outs of best practices and tips, which I'm super excited to share with you all. And then also share with you all what Veeqo can do in case you're not aware or if you've never heard of us before. I hope you all find this super valuable and insightful in terms of what Veeqo can do to help you and how inventory management works.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And with that, I think this is a great time to launch our first poll, which will help us to understand how familiar everyone here is with Veeqo. So if we could get that first poll launched, we'll give you guys a little bit to answer that. We'll leave that up for about 30 seconds, so go ahead and get your answers in. Got about 10 more seconds if you haven't answered yet. Looking pretty good though. Alrighty, we will wrap this one up. And looks like a little more than half of you are already familiar with Veeqo, so that's a good starting point. But some new people here, and that's great. Hopefully you get a lot out of this. We have one more poll I think will be good to launch, and that's just to learn a little bit more about how you're managing inventory today. Could help Daniel with some of the information he's presenting. So let's go ahead and launch that second poll. And we'll give you about 30 seconds to answer that once we get that up. All righty, you got about 10 seconds left on this one too, so make sure you get those answers in. Great, wrapping this one up. It's a little bit more split, but it does look like about 50% of you are using inventory management software, with the other 50% spread across all of those other options. So Daniel, hopefully that gives you some good information to work in with your presentation. And I think we're about ready to kick things off. I do see we have some questions queuing up. We'll keep those queued up. We will get to all of those by the end of the presentation today, but I think we're going to let those sit and let Daniel go ahead and kick things off.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Jess. And thanks for everybody for filling out that poll. It's really great to see a lot of you have already heard of Veeqo and are using Veeqo, but also the other poll in terms of spreadsheets and using a software, really helpful to see as well. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. And I'll play it from the start. Jessica, if you maybe just don't mind letting me know if you do see it properly.
I do. And just for everyone watching, we are monitoring the chat. So if you any point during this, we lose audio, you can't see the presentation, make sure you let us know in the chat so we can address that. But everything looks and sounds good for now. So take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Jessica. So jumping ahead here, I'll skip who I am as I just introduced myself. But at the end of the presentation, like Jessica said, please throw as many questions in the chat as you'd like. We will have time at the end for Q&A, and we'll also have our contact information and even a QR code that she'll be able to scan to get in contact with myself or even just book a demonstration or a call with us as well here at Veeqo. So just to set the agenda for today's call, I want to just first start off by covering what Veeqo solves for. I know in the poll, a couple of you may not have heard of Veeqo before or have heard of Veeqo but aren't using us fully. So I'd love to just cover off a little bit more about what Veeqo can do and how we help some of our merchants. And then from there, we'll jump into the meat and potatoes of today's call, which is inventory management, pro tips, as well as some of the stuff that we see some of the Veeqo sellers and merchants using today within the Veeqo software. And then, like I said, at the end, that Q&A session. So first, what is Veeqo? Veeqo is Amazon's free shipping and inventory management software for merchants that fulfill some or all of their own inventory. And the reason we say that is because we often see at Veeqo, a lot of our merchants may use their own warehouse in terms of their own self-fulfillments, but you'll also notice a lot of them will be using other third-party fulfillment software systems like Amazon FBA, 3PLs, which is totally fine with Veeqo. We help anybody and everybody. But just wanted to let you know that Veeqo is able to be used for your own self-fulfillment, but it does provide value, especially in regards to the reporting and analytics, which we'll get into a little bit later on how we can help supplement some of those third parties, like FBA and 3PLs, like I mentioned. So the three buckets that we like to break Veeqo down into is multi-channel shipping, analytics and forecasting, and then inventory management, which majority of the presentation will be covered on today. So just quickly overviewing the multi-channel shipping piece. Veeqo is a multi-channel shipping software where we integrate with all of your online sales channels. So of course, Amazon, as we are an Amazon company, but also with sales channels like eBay, Shopify, and Walmart, making sure that you have one central location that you can actually go ahead and ship all of your orders. And with that, we also offer some of the lowest negotiated rates on the market. And that includes rates for Amazon shipping, which is Amazon's own carrier and provider to ship your orders to your customers, USPS, UPS, FedEx, and DHL. I saw there was already a few questions in the chat about some of our integrations, which we'll get onto for shipping. But on top of that as well, with Veeqo, how we can offer the lowest negotiated rates is with the 5% credits program that we offer. Some of you may be aware of it, but what that means is Veeqo will give you up to 5% cash back on every label that you purchase through Veeqo, which allows us to say that we have some of the lowest negotiated rates on the market. If you want more information about the shipping side of Veeqo, happy to touch on this at a later time over a call, because today we will be focusing more on inventory management, of course. Next would be reporting and analytics. We will be touching on a lot of this during the presentation, which is making sure that you have a holistic view of any of your historical data to help you make data-driven decisions on what products to purchase, forecasting for future demand, and just being able to break it down on a SKU level or even a sales channel level, knowing exactly where you sell your products the best, maybe where you should maybe focus more of your time, and then also being able to set up reports and giving you that visibility into everything that's going on within your business, especially from an online and an offline sales channel perspective. And the main part of today's call, inventory management, of course. I'll be touching on all three of these and how our sellers find value in how automatically updating inventory levels on their sales channels, how smartly routing their orders to different locations or warehouses have helped them, as well as how Veeqo's features in regards to bundles and managing individual products, but also products that you can sell as a group, and how we can help them in terms of really managing their entire business and their entire inventory within the one system here. So starting off with automatically updating inventory levels across your channels. So like I mentioned, Veeqo has multiple integrations with multiple different sales channels like Amazon, eBay, Walmart. But what we're finding is around 60% of sellers, and I think on the poll there was about 25 or 30% of you, are manually entering data on a spreadsheet, which we find averages about 6 hours per week to just manage your inventory. And as you keep scaling your business and growing your business, this can get more complex and a little bit more difficult. So what we find with a lot of our sellers is they like the ability to have one central location to be able to understand how much inventory they have at one location, or it might be multiple locations that you have. And then also having this inventory pushed to all of the sales channels in real time. With a spreadsheet, of course, you can update the spreadsheet, but sometimes it makes it a little bit more complex to manage the inventory that you're pushing to the different sales channels, especially if you run, say, a promotion or a sale. Being able to in real time update these different sales channels can be a little bit tough, especially if you're using a spreadsheet opposed to, say, an inventory management software like a Veeqo. Um, but also taking it another step forward, especially with a lot of our enterprise and our large clients, and they start getting into utilizing barcodes and bin locations within their warehouse. The barcodes is a big thing, especially for accuracy, I find, and also just making sure they have a buckled down sense of how much they actually have within their warehouse. A lot of sellers, you might sell products that look the same or might look the same to some of your staff. Maybe you also have staff that are seasonal and maybe aren't so familiar with your product catalog. Implementing barcodes and a scanner capability within your warehouse can really help take the guessing out of this. Just making sure that you're able to scan that barcode and exactly what you are scanning and exactly how much of that product you have. This is just a quote from one of our Veeqo brands. Their name is eChaps. They've found great success using Veeqo, and the reason being is because they used to have a concern of overselling, especially since they sell, like you see at the bottom there, Amazon, eBay, Walmart, and Shopify. But since utilizing Veeqo, having that real-time automatically updating of inventory to all of the sales channels has helped them with that overselling problem. But also going back to the shipping aspect and the fact that Veeqo is free, saving money on subscription costs, the shipping rates that we offer, as well as the 5% cash back has actually helped this company and each app save over $15,000 using Veeqo. Next would be smart order routing. So what we find is with a lot of sellers, as they continue to grow and scale, having one warehouse might not be sufficient enough in terms of meeting Amazon delivery promises, just meeting delivery promises on all of your other sales channels as well, but also cutting down cost of the shipping just to get that package over to your customers. And this is where we'll often see customers either opening up multiple warehouses across the US that is their own personal owned and operated, or they'll send their inventory over to, say, a 3PL or Amazon FBA. Commonly, I'll see a lot of my sellers will have a warehouse in the West Coast and the East Coast, and then they want to have the ability to either house specific products in each one, and that's where the forecasting and the reporting later will come into play, helping them see exactly maybe where they should house their inventory because based off of previous sales and where orders are coming from. But also, maybe if they're sharing the same warehouses and they aren't any different and they fulfill the same products, helping them just manage what order should be sent to which one. So you'll see in the illustration on the side here, having a warehouse in Seattle, Los Angeles, and Montreal, based off of your customer's location and your customer's address, being able to smartly route that order over to that warehouse, again, to cut down costs of shipping, and then also just how to manage your inventory all within the one place. On top of the of having your own warehouses, like I was mentioning, with Amazon FBA warehouses, Veeqo does have an integration with Amazon FBA where we can actually show you how much inventory you have within the Amazon FBA warehouses. And sometimes I'll see our customers, they do their own self-fulfillment, but if they run out of stock, but they also sell that product on FBA, we don't want to have you stop fulfilling that order or taking orders for that product. So what we also allow your sellers to do is maybe utilize something like Amazon FBA for multi-channel fulfillment, and that's what MCF stands for, which is basically being able to take orders from any channel off Amazon. So for example, Shopify, eBay, or even Walmart, being able to send those orders to FBA to be fulfilled. So that way, again, you don't need to stop taking orders for a product if you say run out of inventory and sending it to those warehouses for them to fulfill, which helps a lot with the bottom line and just getting stock out of the door. Next, a big feature that a lot of our customers really like is bundling their components, or you may have noticed kits as well. especially if you're using spreadsheets or maybe not an inventory management software, going back to that. It can be hard to sometimes manage products that you can sell in a bundle or a kit. So we don't want to ever stop you from selling products individually, because sometimes what we'll see with our customers is they will pre-package their bundle or their kit. So that way they have a sense of how many bundles they can sell, and they're not going to oversell the individual products as well. But what Veeqo is going to help you do, and what any other inventory management software can really help you do, is avoid the aspect of pre-packaging or pre-bundling your kits. And the reason why we want you to do this is because we want you to keep everything almost separately. So if somebody does want to just buy an apple, they can buy an apple. If somebody just wants to buy a banana, they can buy a banana. But we also want to do the math and make it really easy for you to manage how much you have of everything and tell you how many bundles you can create by taking into consideration just the individually sold items and the individual items sitting on your shelf. Um, and then also with this, utilizing some of the reports that we have. Um, it can be done in terms of using spreadsheets and other systems to track how much sales for a SKU or a product is coming in. But with Veeqo, what we do really easily and really nicely is we'll show you the sales of the individually sold products, and we'll also show you the sales and the profitability of the bundles to help you forecast and predict what you should purchase of the individual items to then manage all of your orders coming in later. And then this leads me into, so we chatted about inventory management and managing your actual personal warehouse. But we also want to touch on replenishing your stock. So having stock sitting in your warehouse and shipping it out is one aspect. But I would say POs and the demand forecasting side is the even harder part about inventory management. Knowing exactly how much stock you should hold and forecasting what you should purchase based off of previous sales. A lot of sellers that we find, they're using spreadsheets or they have to make their own custom formulas, which work. They're great, and you can definitely do that. But having a central location that integrates with all of your other sales channels, so taking in every single order, every single sales channel into consideration, is where we see the value in Veeqo. And a lot of our sellers really enjoy this tool in terms of helping them plan their business for the year. And a few of the things that they will do is set replenishment levels. So setting up things like minimum stock quantities, or even just controlling how much stock can be shown on a sales channel. You'll see in some of the illustrations on the side here, if a product ever goes below a certain stock quantity, you want to be able to get flagged and tell you, hey, maybe we're running low on this, and taking into consideration your supplier lead time even. So if you know that it's going to take 3, 4, or a month to get the product back into your warehouse, you're able to take all of that into consideration to know when to purchase the product. So that way you're not sitting there like out of stock periods, as well as with cash flow issues, helping you understand how much you should actually purchase to meet your customer's demand, but at the same time not having too much in your warehouse, so it's an aging stock. We call that. Um, sorry, let me just get my sheet here. We call that economic quantity evaluation, which will help you, again, like I said, understand how much to purchase to really focus on your customer's demand, but at the same time not have too much stock in your warehouse. And one thing we also notice, it's channel specific, which I always suggest to a lot of our larger sellers, is using the forecasting and the reporting to understand how much of a product you should maybe focus on a certain sales channel. So having the ability to see if you see more orders and more product are being sold on one sales channel, maybe focusing and putting more inventory on that sales channel so you can take more orders, but also being able to do the reverse where maybe you can decrease the amount of inventory on another sales channel to increase the buying urgency, and also maybe make data-driven decisions on how to adjust the price. Because sometimes that could be a big factor where you maybe will sell a product for a different price on Amazon opposed to Shopify. Also taking into consideration things like Amazon fees. All of that stuff is really helpful, which actually leads really nicely into the next section, which is the profit analyzer tool that I'll touch on. But I wanted to just quickly show you this video, which shows you the demand forecast tool in Veeqo. So what they're actually doing is they're forecasting based off of a date range of previous sales of what they think they should purchase. And they're also choosing under that stock holding section how much stock they want to last them within their warehouse. So you could see that they chose 2 weeks. And then they're also accounting for any stock uplift, which means if it's holiday time or maybe you're a seasonal seller, if you know that there's certain times of years where you're busier, it may be wanting to account for maybe a stock uplift or maybe even a decrease as well. And then with this tool, it'll suggest what we think you should purchase. And right there where they just clicked, showing you the supplier that you purchased the product from and underneath lead time. So again, going back to being able to understand how long it's going to take for a product to get to your warehouse, and then being able to create a purchase order right from this tool in a couple of clicks. Really, a lot of our sellers like this tool because it saves them time, but it also gives them that data that they can use to purchase their products.
Really quick question that is actually coming in, not through the Q&A here, but through
Mhm.
the AO2 Slack, someone who is watching live. I guess it's a two-part question. All of the different features that you're showing so far, can these be utilized separately? Like if someone wanted to use just the demand forecaster or, just the shipping software, can the tools all be used separately? And then what is the cost, or what is the starting cost for it?
Yeah, great question. To answer your question, yes, you by all means you can use all of these tools separately, and there is no cost to use any of the tools I'm going over. So when I say Veeqo is free, I really mean that. Veeqo is completely free. There is no hidden cost. There's no subscription fees. Yeah, you really will only be paying for the shipping labels that you're buying through Veeqo, which is where we really shine, I would say, in terms of where we would want a lot of our customers to be using as the shipping platform. But when it comes to all of the inventory features, the forecasting, the purchase orders, all of that stuff is free, and you can use that separately as well.
Thank you. I knew the answer to that, but because it was being asked again, it's something that's so important and as a part of this presentation because you're showing great tools that a lot of people charge a lot of money for, and I think it really helps engagement if we double down on the fact that it doesn't cost to use these. And as a follow-up question, really quickly,
Mhm.
someone asked in the Q&A here, free for how long?
Forever. There is no plans on ever charging people to use Veeqo. It is Veeqo once upon a time was a paid solution, and we did offer all of this stuff. But since being acquired by Amazon, I guess it's a perk you can say in terms of we are able to offer this solution completely free to all of our sellers with no plans of ever charging anybody to use this.
Great, thank you. I'll let you get back to it. I just wanted to make sure we called that out since I knew people were asking.
No, no, thank you for that. And it relates really right back to that eChaps example that I shared, right? They went from using systems in the past where they had to pay the subscription fees, but utilizing Veeqo has helped save them the $15,000, but also giving them all this access to these tools is a great value add for a lot of sellers. And not just Amazon, like I said, too. It can be off Amazon sellers. You don't even need to be an Amazon seller to use Veeqo. If you just sell on Shopify and you have your own D2C brand, you can still use Veeqo for completely free. So just wanted to point that out as well. Yes, we are an Amazon company, but the perk is we are giving you Amazon rates to use for anything off Amazon as well.
Okay, awesome. I may interrupt you again, just as I see people dropping in and out. I want to make sure we keep reiterating on the the fact that it's free in case anybody misses that.
Thank you, Jess. Awesome. So jumping ahead, the Profit Analyzer. This is actually something new that Veeqo just launched at the Amazon Accelerate conference. It's a conference that we go to every single year where we launch a big feature within Veeqo. And this year was the Veeqo Profit Analyzer. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up is not because this is a great tool, and again, it's free to use and it's all in one solution to help you forecast on all of your sales channels. But what this tool really is impactful and helps our sellers do is see their ROI, their P&L, their profit and loss, and helping them make data-driven decisions on where to put their cash. So with inventory management, the biggest issue I see, or the biggest concern I see from a lot of people, is cash flow issues, making sure that they have enough stock, but they have enough to meet their demand at the same time, but not having too much stock, especially if you're using things like 3PLs and Amazon FBA. It does lead to things like age stock surcharges, where if this product is sitting for too long, you may have fees, or maybe you even need to ship it back to your own personal warehouse. But one thing I see for a lot of sellers is using this tool to understand what products to send where. So a lot of the times I'll see my sellers will send smaller, lighter items and their top selling products to Amazon FBA or the 3PLs, and they keep products that are bigger, heavier, or maybe take up more space, or maybe are a little bit slower moving products, and they hold that within their own personal warehouse to fulfill. So that way they have that hybrid model where they're using not only FBA and 3PLs, but they also have their own warehouse to fulfill from. And then this tool will also show you things like your surcharges in terms of Amazon fees, because we do have an integration with FBA. So we'll show you if you did have any age stock surcharges, any FBA fees that you've been paying over a series of time. Because you'll see with the illustration, you can forecast this on a date range that you'd like. So it could be today, it could be the last month, could be year to date, which you'll see right there. And that will also help you with understanding maybe what promotions to run again, maybe what products you should sell, or maybe what products you should maybe can and maybe not stock too much of. It's a really helpful tool to show you based off of a date range. So maybe going back to last Christmas or maybe last Valentine's Day, as Valentine's Day is coming up, being able to look at that date range to see what products sold the best, what sales channels did the best, and then also how much ad costs, surcharges, fees that you've paid on other sales channels. So it can really help you understand how much profit and what your P&L is looking like. Um, and then, like I said at the end, understanding what products into FBA versus self-fulfillment. This tool is really helpful for all of that stuff. I think that's everything I have. I see there's a lot of questions in the chat here. So this is a QR code that you can go ahead and scan. It'll take you to a sign up page for Veeqo. But I would highly suggest or encourage you, if you do have any questions, if you're already a Veeqo user, you can reach out to myself and my colleague Christina, who's also been helping me run this webinar, to ask questions. If you want to see a specific feature, there's always ways to raise feedback to us. But also with that QR code, you can book a call with us, and you can also get in touch with us to see if live demonstration of the full Veeqo software, as I know this was pretty high level. But thank you all for your time, and I guess we'll just jump into Q&A.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel, and thanks everybody for sticking around. Even though the presentation is finished, definitely suggest you stick with us through the Q&A in case you have similar questions. You'll get them answered. The first question we had, you have already answered, but I'm going to read it out loud again, just to make sure if anybody has joined us new. Is the inventory management portion free as well, and will it always be free? So just tripling down on that.
Yes, it is free and always will be free. The one thing that I should mention with the free aspect is we do encourage all of our Veeqo users to use our shipping platform. So that is the one thing that we would highly encourage when you do chat with us, especially use the inventory side of things, is we would love to chat with you about your fulfillment process as well on the shipping side.
Awesome. Next question that I know is really relevant to a lot of people is, do you integrate with Vendor Central as well as Seller Central?
Good question. Not yet today, just Seller Central. Other integrations are on our roadmap. So things like NetSuite, Target, TikTok, those are all integrations that we are looking to build. So if you have any integrations that you would want to see and you are a Veeqo user, there is a product roadmap that you can go to and submit ideas. Or like I said, you can email myself and Christina, and we can get any requests or integration feedback over to our team to make sure that we are top of mind and thinking about integrations that our sellers want. But in terms of Vendor Central, not today, just Seller Central.
Got it. And apologies if you already answered this one and I might have missed it. Another integration question is WooCommerce added yet?
Not yet. It is in a beta stage still, but it is planned for, I want to say Q4 later this year. I don't want to promise that, but I can double check with my team. If you want to shoot me an email, let me know that it's top of mind for you, and I'll get a solid answer for you in terms of WooCommerce. But it is still in our beta stage.
Okay. And Steve, we will make sure that we get back to you on that. So even if you don't get a chance to send an email, I will see that after this call and make sure we follow up as well. Okay, just going to go in order here on the rest. We'll try and answer as many of these as we can. Reminder, if you put your question in chat, move it over to the Q&A. We may not get a chance to scroll back through the chat and look for those questions. Is there an ETA on allowing personal USPS stamps.com accounts and multiple UPS personal accounts to buy Amazon shipping? This is a gap preventing us from migrating over to Veeqo from ShipStation. There's a lot there, so let me know if we need to take that one offline.
No, I think I got it. So connecting your own USPS account to Veeqo. To my understanding, not on the roadmap, but I can definitely double check. Right now, you are correct. We only give you the option to connect your own UPS account, FedEx, Amazon shipping. USPS, not available today. And also, I'm not too sure if it's on the roadmap, but I can double check for you.
Okay, great. And we'll make sure, Mark, that we follow up with you about that after the fact too, just in case you don't remember to grab those emails or forget to send an email. We'll get one out just to make sure that question is you stay connected.
Yeah, definitely fire off that email to me so I can stay connected with them.
Great. Okay, can Veeqo work with a Canadian company to ship to US, Latin America, UK, and Europe?
Not today. So with Veeqo, you do need to be based, your warehouse at least needs to be fulfilling from the USA or the UK. We have a UK product that you can use as well, but today you do need to have a warehouse and fulfill from the USA.
Okay, and then follow-up question from the same person that may be related. Can Veeqo manage container shipments from China to the US and the UK?
Can we manage shipments from China to the US or the UK? No, not today. You will need to have a shipment coming from the US or the UK to anywhere else in the world, but not from China to the two. Yeah.
Got it. So US is the point of origin for everything there.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, is there a way we can have barcodes for bin locations? This user wants to be sure that the product is being put into the right bin location and pulled from the right bin location.
Yeah, that's good feedback. We hear that a lot from a lot of our sellers as well. There are barcodes for the product in Veeqo, but not for the actual bin location. Again, maybe connect with us, send us an email and give us that request, and we can double check with our team to see if it is on the roadmap because we are making a lot of changes to our fulfillment features. So definitely might be something on the roadmap that we can maybe take a look at. But as of today, the only barcodes that you can print that I generally see a lot of our sellers put on the shelf is the barcode of the product. So if they are doing like an inventory count or if they are picking with the barcodes, they can scan the barcode of the product on the shelf, but not the actual shelf barcode.
Got it. Okay. And then we've got two questions here from Randy. So I'm gonna couple them together. First question is, how do they get forecasting to include low stock items, not just out of stock, I'm guessing, and then also asking for, or if this is on the roadmap, 6-week supply on the forecasting tool.
6 week supply. Yeah, I think the forecasting tool goes from 2 to 4 to 8. I can put in a request from the team just to see if there's anything that we can add to the forecasting report. But what I would suggest doing in terms of the low stock is set up replenishment levels in Veeqo. You can set up things like a low stock warning, minimum stock quantity, maximum stock quantity. And on the forecasting tool, instead of forecasting based off of previous sales, you can change it to forecasting based off of the reorder levels. So we could definitely hop on another call if needed, and we can go through that together to make sure that it does fit your needs. But that's what I would suggest is setting up those replenishment levels in Veeqo, and then you're using the reorder levels on the demand forecast tool.
Got it. Okay. And then are purchase order templates customizable? And if not, are there plans to make this customizable?
That has been highly requested as well. That's actually something that is on the roadmap. We want to be able to give our customers the ability to customize the different templates. So whether that's packing slip, invoices, shipping labels, as well as the purchase order templates as well. So customization of templates is on our roadmap. In terms of a timeline of when this year, I couldn't tell you that, but we can definitely look into that for you as well.
Got it. I'm jumping around a little bit here because I think this one is really relevant since about half of the attendees today were not familiar or are not yet using Veeqo before this webinar. Beth is asking, what does the onboarding process look like? I'm a little nervous about the process to transition our shipping from our current processes. What's the timeline for onboarding? What's the assistance? So I think this is really relevant to a lot of people. Could you kind of walk us through some of that process?
Yeah, for sure. And Beth, this is a concern for anybody. I mean, just switching over, like you said, your shipping software and changing your workflow can be a little bit intimidating and daunting. So what we do is we want to make it as seamless and easy as possible with our account management and our support team. So every time you come and take a look at Veeqo, you will get assigned an account manager that will help you not only set up your account, but help with the training, the onboarding, setting up calls with your team to make sure they're comfortable with the Veeqo features. But what we often suggest, and what I often suggest doing is, since Veeqo is a completely free software, we can sign up and set up your account in the background while you still do everything that you do today. So if you are using another inventory management software, another shipping software, continue using that while we set up Veeqo in the background, because we can do that. We can continue using Veeqo simultaneously with another software. And then once you're comfortable and ready, that's when we will transition over to Veeqo and maybe shut down the other system. But we will do it side by side, making sure that you have that other system and what you're used to still in place. And then when you're ready, we can migrate over to Veeqo. And like I said, we have a support team that will help you. Myself will set up calls with you to help with that. So we have pretty good support, and it is all human support. We do have some AI tools that really help with answering more general-based questions, but we do have dedicated Veeqo support that will help you if needed.
Great, thank you for that. I think that's helpful for a lot of people joining us today. Okay, jumping back in order of how they were received. Um, this is another technical question. So again, if we're getting too into the weeds, feel free. We can always make sure we follow up with people. But why are there suppliers that are blank in the forecasted products that are reported?
Why are there suppliers that are blank in the demand forecast tool? Is that the question?
I think so. Yeah, with the output from that tool will have forecasted products, but there will be a blank supplier for that.
Gotcha. That might be due to the fact that in Veeqo, you can set suppliers as the default for products. And if you don't set the supplier as the default for the product, it will show you a blank supplier region, and you can click on it and change the supplier after the fact. But that would help if you make that product the default for a specific supplier. It will, once it's added to the demand forecast tool, it will show you the default supplier that you normally purchase the product from. And then underneath, it'll also show you the lead time that you set in Veeqo for that product. So it might just be something that we can sit down together and go through together to make sure that there is no feature gap or in terms of a knowledge base there. But I think that might be the case why you're seeing that blank supplier field is just because we don't have anything mapped to the product in terms of the default supplier.
Got it. Okay. Um, Next up, I think this is someone who is using another service or is, looking to get started with Veeqo, but they're curious about how they might get credit for labels if they purchase them through Veeqo. So, as an example, if there's an issue with something that's shipped through FedEx SmartPost, how will they get credited for that, issue for that label that's not used or has a problem?
Yeah, if it's a label that was never used, but you purchased it from Vigo, we have the ability to delete the shipment, is what we call it, and that will refund you for that label that you never used. So that's one way. If you have shipped a product and you did use the label, but there's a problem with the delivery, it's lost, it's late, it's damaged, you need to file a claim. Our team has help guides and also a full resource to help you with filing claims directly with the carriers. And if you ever have issues with that as well, of course, you can lean on our support team to help you with any claims that you have to file with the carrier. But there are full workflows in terms of filing any claims, but also getting refunds for labels if you don't use them.
Okay. Next up, there are a lot in here and the questions just keep coming. So thank you guys. We
Nice, nice.
appreciate this. Um, We have a few shadow SKUs, also known as alias SKUs, on certain marketplaces. These SKUs are the same product with multiple listings. Is there a way for Veeqo to share attributes across those? For example, if I update the cost on the parent SKU, will all the alias SKUs automatically update?
Yeah, so we see this sometimes with some of our clients is they'll have multiple listings of the same product, but they use it for different marketing purposes or ways to just expand the reach. So what you can do in Vico is we have the ability on the inventory side to merge products together that are the same. So we won't change anything on your front end of your store or what your customers are seeing, but at least in the back end of Vico, it'll give you the ability to just manage all of those listings under one product so you can push one central inventory to all of them. And then when it comes to pricing, you can change price in Vico. There is a feature that which we can do that, or just continue changing it on your sales channels as you like. But that is possible in Vico where we just merge the products together to have one listing in Vico that you manage.
Okay, great. Jumping around a little bit here again, just some I want to make sure we get answered that I think are critical or good for new to Vico users, people who are considering. Um, what is the best way to stay informed about new features and updates that are rolling out for Vico?
Really good question. So in your Vico account, if you are a Vico user, or even if you're not, there we have this thing called a change log, and you can also access our product roadmap. So not only can you see on the product roadmap upcoming features and launches, the change log will show you anything that's already been launched and already live in Vico. And to access that change log in the product roadmap, in your Vico account on the top right, you'll see a little question mark, and you can click on the change log and the product roadmap from there.
Great, thank you for that. And then another one, can you set up or connect multiple stores?
For sure. Yeah, there's no limitations in terms of how many stores you can connect. You can connect all of your online stores. You can also create manual phone channels that we call them. So if you have orders through the phone or maybe walk-in orders, you can also upload orders or create orders directly in Vico. So there's no limitations on how many stores you can connect. There's no limitations on how many users you can create. And there's also no limitations on how many warehouses or fulfillment centers you can create in Vico. So everything is unlimited.
Awesome. And also, can you set up a supplier without setting up a lead time?
Of course. Yep. You can set up the supplier and ignore the lead time if it changes.
Great. And another quick one, does Vico connect to the new ship API from USPS?
USPS, we did have recently have some changes in our USPS rates that we offer. I believe there was a bit of a decrease in some of the services. Um, but in terms of integrating with, if it's your own carrier you're asking about, no. But we do have updated USPS rates that we offer natively in Vico that you can use. And they are fairly competitive, especially with the Vico credits that I would suggest taking a look at if you haven't already.
I think now that you mentioned the credits, I want to make sure. I thought I saw a question here about the credits. It might be in the chat, so I may need to go looking for that, and we may have to answer it later in a follow-up. But I'm going to try and keep that top of mind. Someone else is asking, can you connect two UPS accounts to the same Vico account? I think we answered something similar about this earlier, but just to clarify on that.
That is on the roadmap for this year, so stay tuned. Not yet today. It is just one UPS account or one FedEx account, whatever you want to connect, but it is on the roadmap for this year where you will be able to connect two UPS accounts or two FedEx accounts. So yeah, stay tuned for that one.
Great. We love the new profit analyzer tool, but wish it would incorporate impacts related to returns. Would also like to see capability to add third-party shipping charges for orders shipped off platform. Being able to log those costs to an order and reflect it in the profit analyzer would be helpful. So I guess mostly suggestions, but if any of that's in the roadmap or you know why it is or isn't offered, that could be helpful too.
Yeah, nothing that I can share off the top of my head, but that's a great suggestion. I would suggest if you haven't already, again, going back to that product roadmap, there is a submit idea button that we would love to hear all of that feedback. Anything you think could be improved, please feel free to submit it or just shoot me an email and give me that suggestion, and I can make sure that it gets back to our team.
All right, we are down to the last question here. So just a quick reminder, if you already asked a question and you maybe put it in the Q&A instead of, or in the chat rather than the Q&A, go ahead and move that over so we make sure that we don't miss it. We're about down to the last 10 minutes here. So after we answer any more questions that are in the Q&A, we'll go ahead and wrap things up to make sure we don't run over. We'll have one last poll that we'll send out just to get some feedback on the session. And then we will go ahead and wrap the event up early. But if you've asked questions, we will make sure to connect you. If you posted something in chat, we'll see that after the fact, we'll get you connected. So there will be follow-up after this event, but just making sure if you have a pending question and you've got it in the chat, we haven't answered it yet, it's not in the Q&A, go ahead and move that over. We will make sure to answer it live, and otherwise everything else will follow up after the event. So the last question we have right now in the Q&A, will Veeqo enhance the product by providing any sort of send to Amazon shipping process for FBA, like what Inventory Lab has? So I'm guessing an integration that automatically does send to Amazon through the Veeqo software.
Um, if I understand the question correctly, like a MCF perspective, like multi-channel fulfillment, where that multi-channel fulfillment is basically being able to send orders to be fulfilled by Amazon FBA.
I
If that
think
is the question,
they might be
yeah.
asking more on the front end to send to Amazon, like basically build your send to Amazon workflow for FBA in Veeqo so that it automatically pushes into, yep, yeah, so that's what it is. On the front end, creating that send to Amazon workflow, but inside of Veeqo, and then it basically just pushes in and updates on Seller Central
Seller
interface.
Central. Gotcha. Yeah. So being able to manage sending products to FBA.
Yep,
Okay. Gotcha. Not possible today in Vico, but it is something that's highly discussed in our team. Is since we're an Amazon company, we want to be able to be a solution that you can use for not only just FBM but also FBA. It is something that is discussed. I'm not 100% sure on the timeline of that. It might be next year opposed to this year. But it is something that we do want to implement in Vico eventually. Again, I don't know when, but we do understand not only managing your own inventory in your own personal warehouse, but also being able to have one solution where you can just send products to FBA would be helpful. So it is something that we are discussing internally.
perfect. Great. And Mark will make sure to connect you so that you can be informed as that is ongoing. And for now, that is our last question in the Q&A. So thank you, Daniel, beyond the presentation, for going through rapid fire. Over 20 questions answered today. So thank you for
Amazing.
that. That was fantastic. Again, if you have follow-up questions, we have those contact information pieces. We have follow-up in the chat. Make sure you grab that before we end things today. Like I said, we will launch one last poll. So the webinar will stay up. We will drop off here, but the webinar will stay up. And you'll have a chance to answer that poll, send through any additional questions that way. And then we'll have all of that after the event. We will make sure to get back to you. And then we do share this recording. So I know we went through a lot of questions really quickly. So you'll have that chance to rewatch Daniel's presentation as well as re-listen to all those questions and answers. And then connect with us if you want to follow up either with AO2 or with Veeqo for services. So Daniel, I'll throw it over to you one last time. If you have any parting words, if you want to put that QR code up again, anything you want to do as last thoughts, takeaway here, and then we can wrap things up.
No, I just want to say thank you so much, Jessica. Thank you, everybody who attended. Please feel free to reach out to myself and the Vico team. I mean, we're more than happy to help anybody with any questions. Love the feedback and any of the suggestions you have as well. Our team loves that stuff. So anything you have to share with us, please, please, please let us know. I'll really quickly share my screen to pull up the QR code in case anybody wants to scan that one more time. It'll take you to sign up for a Vico account. But you also have my email there in case you want to reach out and book a time to dive into Vico a little bit more on a one-to-one call.
Awesome. And thank you so much, Daniel. And to everyone on the Veeqo team, there are other people here behind the scenes that you can't see that helped us put this together as well. So thank you to Alex and to Christina. And then just to anyone here who's watching, if you are already an AO2 client, you have more questions or want follow-up before you connect directly or set up your Veeqo account, reach out to your AO2 account manager. They can help answer questions and get you connected and, handhold throughout this process. Or you can reach out to me directly. If you're not currently a client, I'm more than happy to get things started and also help make introductions to the Veeqo team when you're ready with that. And thank you again. And we'll go ahead and launch that final poll so you can leave us some feedback about what is what you enjoyed or didn't enjoy, or future suggestions for our webinars. We'll get that last poll up, and then we'll let everybody go ahead and get out of here. So thank you. Daniel and I will drop off, but we'll let you answer that poll. We'll keep that up for a little bit, and we'll keep the chat up as well so that you can grab any contact information there. So thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.